Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video we're going to go through how to make scrunchies in real time. I'm not going to speed up any of the clips. And yeah, we're going to do two different variations. One is just like your regular standard how to make a scrunchie from scratch. And then the other version is going to be using ponytail holders you already have. And I'm going to be specifically using these like Invisibobble type corded stretchy ones because I have two of the actual like Invisibobble brand scrunchies, but like these are stupid expensive and I don't want to keep paying for them. So I'm gonna try DIYing a couple. So yeah, I'm gonna walk you through how to make scrunchies two different ways. So let's jump into how to do this. Okay, so to make the from scratch scrunchie, first we're gonna take a ponytailer you already like, and we're just gonna pull it kind of taut against a ruler to see how big it is. This one is pulling out to be about 3.5 inches. However, I find this ponytailer to be a bit large for my super thin hair. So to cut your elastic, I've already cut mine, but you're gonna take that measurement and times it by 2. So this would be 7 is how long you'd want your elastic to be. But for me, since I don't want it quite that long, I cut mine to 5. So if your ponytailer is 7 and you like it, cut it to 7. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut a piece of fabric that is double the length of the elastic and 4 inches wide. You could also make it wider if you wanted a really voluminous scrunchie, or you could make it thinner if you wanted a more narrow, tight scrunchie. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna fold this like a hot dog, wrong sides or right sides together, and then stitch this up. Okay, so now that you have your tubes, what you're gonna do is we're gonna flip them right sides out, and the easiest way to do that is with a safety pin. So put your safety pin in one side, then just push it all the way through. And then however many scrunchies you're doing, you're gonna do that for that one as well. And then iron those flat. Okay, so now that your pieces are ironed, you're gonna take your elastic and 2 safety pins. You're gonna put one safety pin through one end and the other safety pin through one end and one end of your fabric. Then you're gonna take the loose end and thread it through to the other side. And then you're going to take both ends and clip this side from just the fabric. You want it to still be through the elastic to make this easier. And just pull it so that, oops, And then take your elastics, make sure you pinch them really good together, and you can remove those safety pins. And then you're just gonna zigzag stitch those together. I'm gonna put a pin in there to make sure they don't slide back in. Yeah, you're just gonna put a little zigzag stitch back and forth, make sure it's super secure, and then we just have to close it up. I'm gonna do that again on this side. I'm gonna show you if you don't wanna put it through the fabric to save on like trying to wiggle it through. Just thread that safety pin through. And then you can just hold on to both safety pins and wiggle the fabric. Might be easier. So that seemed to be easier, but I think that's more the fabric for this particular scrunchie. There we go. Now to just stitch those two up. Okay, so now that you've sewn together your elastics and you have this opening, it's time to close the opening and then your scrunchie's done. So to do that, you're just gonna take your scrunchie, I think I'm gonna do it with this one, and you're just gonna fold one of those raw edges in. Like so. And then you're gonna shove the other end in. And then you're just gonna hand stitch that closed. So I'm gonna put some pins in mine just to make sure it stays together while I sew it. So then you're just gonna take your needle and thread, just sew it shut. You're gonna use bit of a invisible stitch. So you're just gonna go in one side, to the other, and then into the fold. And you'll just do that until you reach the knot of your thread. Wow, I can't think and sew at the same time. But yeah, you want to just make this stitch as invisible as possible. And don't worry if your stitches don't look perfect here, because this will be in your hair and wrapped around, like, it's not going to be super noticeable. It's okay if it's not perfect. And definitely make sure you're using a matching thread to make sure it hides as best it can. And when you get to the end, just knot it and you're done. Then your scrunchie is done. Now I'm gonna do this one off camera so you don't have to be tortured by watching that. And then I'm gonna show you the reveal, or how to do the other scrunchie, and then I'm gonna show you what they all look like in the hair. Now for the scrunchie that you're gonna be using a ponytailer that you already have, we're gonna start out the same way, kind of lightly stretch it, see how big it is, but also you wanna see how far it can stretch in total. So this stretches about 5.5 before it's getting too strained. So that means 11 would be our marker for our piece of fabric. But since I want this one to be very voluminous and very scrunchy and full, I'm cutting mine to be 17 by 4 as well, like the other scrunchie. But again, scrunchies are all about preference. So if you want yours to be less voluminous, cut it to where I said you should cut it. And if you want it more, cut it how I am. So yeah, now for this one, instead of folding it like a hot dog, we're gonna fold it like a hamburger. Right sides together, and then stitch your edges closed. Okay, so now for the scrunchies that are using your own ponytailers, we're gonna take your long tube and fold it so that right sides are together. There you go. And we're gonna carefully stitch this inside of this tube. So how we're gonna do that is we're gonna kind of maneuver the ponytailer to be in between the fabric. And always start at your seam. And we're gonna pin that. And then just slowly work your way around and make sure you indicate a gap so that you can flip this. So that we can make it so that the right sides are out at the end. Okay, so don't listen to anything I just said. I realized once I did it, that's not the right way to do it, and I mistold you. So what you're gonna do, if you've been following along, is seam rip this so that you still have your long tube rectangle. You haven't touched it yet. So you're gonna take your ponytailer. You're gonna thread your fabric through, right sides together. And then pin that. You're gonna do that all the way to the end so that you have both ends of your tube open. So that in the end, it'll look like the regular scrunchie once we're done. And trust me, you do not want to make that mistake I did, because I just spent many minutes seam ripping. Seam ripping is never a fun task. This actually ends up being a very similar method, whether you're doing it with your own or from scratch. So now I'm just gonna do this one off camera, and then we're gonna sew around that, leaving your little opening of your donut. Okay, so now that we've sewn all the way around, we're gonna do a similar trick to the last one. We're gonna take a safety pin, pin it in one side, and then thread it through. This task will probably be easier if you didn't do an Invisibobble style ponytailer, because I have a feeling this fabric's gonna get all bunchy on the coil. And I'm sorry in advance if I move this out of frame. I'm still getting used to like filming overhead and not being able to have the whatever I'm doing, scrunchie or embroidery or whatever, like right in front of my face. You can also work from the other side of flipping it out and then pulling from the other side. Actually, I might even add a safety pin to the other end to help pull. There we go. Whew. And it's all flipped. So now, what you gotta do is get your ends all nice and straightened out. And remove your safety pins. And then we're gonna seal this the same way we did the other scrunchies. We're gonna fold in one side. And then place it over the other side. And then just stitch it together. Put a pin in to hold it. And grab my needle and thread. So let me know in the comments if you've ever made a scrunchie or if you'd even like want to make scrunchies. I know like they're super trendy and like I personally love them, but I don't know how much everyone else loves them. Like I know my mom is very against scrunchies because she grew up in the 80s. But I want to know, what's your opinion on scrunchies? And like I said with the other one, these stitches don't have to be perfect because when it's all bunched and scrunched together, it's a lot less noticeable. Especially if you're wearing them in your hair as opposed to on your wrist. Then when you hit the end, just knot it off. And there you go. Your scrunchie is all done. Now I'll do this one off camera, so again, you don't have to sit here with me awkwardly in silence for like 10 minutes. That's how you make scrunchies. It's pretty easy once I figured out my mistake, which you now don't have to make that mistake because I made it for you. But yeah, these, the finished scrunchies, I'm really happy with them. They're gonna be a good addition to my scrunchie collection because all my other ones are kind of green and blue and not neutral. The closest one I have to neutral is like the white one with lemons I showed you at the beginning of the video of like what I was basing these two off of. But yeah, these are the finished scrunchies. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a great project to use kind of your scrap fabric for, and then you have a matching scrunchie to whatever you just made. So like, I remember once in the summer, I made a mask, a scrunchie, and a shirt all in the same fabric. I don't think I've ever been stopped that much about like, oh my god, did you make your shirt and scrunchie and mask? Like, I think I probably got stopped 15 times in like an hour. It was ridiculous. But yeah, this is a great project to do. If you decide to make scrunchies based on this video, please tag me if you share it on social media. I would love to see it, and use hashtag #OutshineWithEmma. And yeah, I will see you next week in the next video. Bye everyone.